Welcome, good morning, happy St. Patty's Day. I'm Mary Cochran. I will be your worship associate today. I currently serve this congregation as a member of the worship committee and the performing arts committee. Thank you for being here with us, whether you're joining us in the pews or online. We'll start with some announcements. Today, the lunch bunch will be at 12:15 at La Madeleine on San Felipe, or San Felipe. If you're not familiar with lunch bunch, it's just whoever feels like it goes out and has lunch together and give you a chance to talk. So everybody's welcome, visitors, and whomever. We will not be having an online coffee hour after the service because we still don't have anyone to host that. If you want to volunteer to host the online coffee hour, please let somebody know. We want to especially welcome our visitors this morning. We're very happy you've chosen to include this place on your spiritual journey. You should have been handed a welcome packet when you arrived. If you did not, we're sorry for the oversight. Please feel free to ask one of us for a welcome packet on your way out. It contains a yellow card, just like the one in the seat back in front of you. If you fill that out, we'll put you on our mailing list to keep you connected with us. Whenever you're ready to take that step, feel free to complete the card and leave it in the offering boxes. There will be usher and greeter training this week, next Sunday, the 24th at 12:15 in the sanctuary. It's a great way to volunteer here at the church. If you'd like to be an usher or a greeter, then training next week. And Tuesday, March 19th, the solstice. It's actually an equinox, right? It's actually an equinox. They lied to me. The equinox celebration, Tuesday, March 19th. If you'll meet here at 6:30, they'll carpool over to Rice University and have a celebration in the sky space there. So Tuesday, 6:30. Our pulpit guest this week is Tim Shorey. He is a Soto Zen priest, an assistant teacher at the Houston Zen Center, and leader of a Zen congregation at a state prison unit north of Huntsville. During the 1990s and 2000s, Tim and his wife Gail and their children Eleanor and Will were active members of Emerson Church. Tim was also one of the architects who designed our beautiful Delaney Hall. And now let us welcome spring by singing along. Instead of a prelude, we're all going to sing today. Hymn 73, Chant for All Seasons, verse 3, Spring.
Winter rains have turned the star with springtime is upon us. Winter rains have turned the star with springtime is upon us. Sharp the smell of home, bursting in our eyes the turrets of the tulips. Winter rains have turned the star with springtime is upon us. Green is the grass, soft upon our brows, the sunlight caresses. Winter rains have turned the star with springtime is upon us.
And now we transition into our sacred time together. A time of reverence, a time of attention, a time of intention. I invite you to join us in this time marked by the lighting of our chalice flame. I would like to invite Laurie Hammond to come forward and light our chalice flame in the sanctuary. And I invite those of you at home to light a candle where you are to join in spirit. We mark this sacred time with words, important words that bring us into a time of collective intention. Today, we hear words from our second source, Words and Deeds of Prophetic People. This month, our chalice lighting words come from author and namesake of this very congregation, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Waldo lived from 1803 until 1882 and was a minister, essayist, lecturer, philosopher, abolitionist, and poet. He led the transcendentalist movement of the mid-19th century. He was seen as a champion of individualism and critical thinking. German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche considered him the most gifted of Americans, and American poet Walt Whitman referred to him as his master. Please join me in reading these words together as they appear on the screen. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Emerson is a beloved community of faith, reason, and affection. We welcome all to grow in mind and spirit as we build a better world. We do this by gathering to seek, learn, and grow, and in the course of our work to promote love among each other, our congregation, and the wider community here in Houston. Whether you're here in the sanctuary or joining us on Zoom or Facebook, we welcome you. No matter where you are in your personal spiritual journey, we invite you to live, learn, love, and grow with us. As a covenantal community, we aspire to promote love, fellowship, and social justice, as well as support for your personal growth. Please join me in our welcoming. The words are on the screen. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. It is important that we acknowledge that our history is a shared and sometimes harmful one. Our congregation's buildings are situated on the home of the Karankawa and Atapaka peoples. They were here at least 2,000 years before the European settlers arrived and were very nearly brought to their end. May we recognize, uplift, and support Indigenous voices and communities in our work as a congregation. I now invite Tim to lead us in the opening words.
Each time we're gathered, we hear words from one of the 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. Today we hear words from Prajnaparamita Sutra, circa 100 before the Common Era. Hymn to the Perfection of Wisdom. Homage to the perfection of wisdom, the lovely, the holy. The perfection of wisdom gives light. Unstained, the entire world cannot stain her. She is a source of light, and from everyone in the triple world she removes darkness. Most excellent are her works. She brings light so that all fear and distress may be forsaken, and disperses the gloom and darkness of delusion. She herself is an organ of vision. She has a clear knowledge of the own being of all dharmas, for she does not stray away from it. The perfection of wisdom of the Buddhas sets in motion the wheel of Dharma. And now, with our chalice lit and our hearts and minds centered, we often celebrate just a little more by singing a hymn. You may stand if you're comfortable doing so, or you may stay seated, but please help us raise our voices and sing. Our opening hymn is De Coloris, number 305.
All the colors, yes, the colors we see in the springtime with all of its flowers. All the colors, when the sunlight shines up through a rift in the cloud and it showers. All the colors, as a rainbow appears when the storm cloud is touched by the sun. All the
And now Tim will read us a story for all ages.
That's the story. The Thorn Bush. An old lady went to the door of her house. She was crying. A policeman came running. "Dear lady," said the policeman, "why are you crying?" "Come in," said the old lady. "I will show you." "Look, there's a thorn bush growing in my living room chair," said the old lady. "How did it get there?" asked the policeman. "I do not know," said the old lady. "One day I sat down and something hurt me. I got up and there was this thorn bush." "You poor lady," said the policeman, "I will pull the thorn bush out of your chair for you, and then you can sit down again." "No," cried the old lady, "don't do that. I do not want to sit down. I've been sitting down all my life. I love my thorn bush. I'm crying because it is sick." "See," said the old lady, "all of the branches are falling over. I wish I could show you the pictures." "The thorn bush may be thirsty," said the policeman. "Perhaps it needs water." "I never thought of that," said the old lady. She poured some water on the chair. Then the thorn bush shivered and shook. Green leaves came out on the branches, and little buds came out near the leaves, and the buds opened up, and they became large roses. "Thank you, kind policeman," cried the old lady. "You've saved my thorn bush. You've made my house beautiful." She kissed the policeman and gave him a big bunch of roses to take home.
I liked that. Each time we gather, we ask your help in fulfilling this church's mission. The success of this church and of the principles we support is made possible by the work of our members and friends and by your financial support. We honor that support by striving to live the mission of this place fully and wholeheartedly. We take a weekly collection. This collection funds the work of our partners who, in our opinion, live out our Unitarian Universalist values in our community and in the world beyond. Our act of collective giving and our financial support is both a transformative spiritual act and one way we live our values. 75% of today's offering will go to our March Share the Plate recipient, Hope Farms. Hope Farms is a 7-acre farm located 10 miles south of Houston. Their mission is to mobilize the community, combat childhood obesity by changing the way children understand, appreciate, and eat their food, and to educate and mobilize the community to provide them with healthier diets. They are transforming lives in Houston and beyond by making healthy food fun, tasty, affordable, easy, and accessible, while training and providing small business incubation, co-op services, and workforce readiness. The remaining 25% of today's offering will go to Interfaith Ministries Meals on Wheels, which provides thousands of meals every day to Houston's homebound seniors. We ask that you join with us in supporting this important work. To do so, you can go to our webpage for online giving, put cash or check in our baskets, 2 of which are up front and 1 in the back, or put cash or mail a check to the church. During the offering music, children who wish to attend RE classes may follow their teachers.
Now, as you see fit, please find a comfortable place to sit and find your breath. Sitting in an upright position, relaxed, please drop your gaze or close your eyes. Find the breath, the faithful friend that it is, and notice that you are breathing. Take a deep breath in and out. Take 3 deep breaths, breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, positivity, breathing out and letting go of old stale air and stale stories. Breathing in, breathing out, sitting with our attention on the breath. Relax the body, drop your shoulders, and be still. Words from Eihei Dogen Zenji, year 1227 of the Common Era. For now, you are invited to set aside practice based on intellectual understanding, pursuing words and following after speech, and learn the backward step that turns your light inwardly to illuminate yourself. Body and mind of themselves will fall silent and still, and your original face will be manifest. There's nothing to gain or lose. This is simply the gateway of repose and bliss, the simultaneous practice and realization of totally culminated enlightenment. The words from our second reading today come from Sutta Nipata, a collection of the oldest known teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha. And you may remember the perfection of wisdom, the lovely, the holy, she who is herself an organ of vision. Please consider this. She is right now, right behind the eyes of each one of us and in the center of our heart. And if we ask her for advice, she might say something like this. Please join me in reading responsively. This is what should be accomplished by the one who is wise, who seeks the good, and has obtained peace. Let one be strenuous, upright, and sincere, without pride, easily contented and joyous. Let one not be submerged by the things of the world. Let one not take upon oneself the burden of riches. Let one's senses be controlled. Let one be wise but not puffed up, and let one not desire great possessions even for one's family. Let one do nothing that is mean or that the wise would reprove. May all beings be happy. May they be joyous and live in safety. All living beings, whether weak or strong, in high or middle or low realms of existence, small or great, visible or invisible, near or far, born or to be born, may all beings be happy. Let no one deceive another, nor despise any being in any state. Let none by anger or hatred wish harm to another. Even as a mother, at the risk of her life, watches over and protects her only child, so with a boundless mind should one cherish all living things. So fuse love over the entire world, above, below, and all around, without limit. So let one cultivate an infinite goodwill toward the whole world, standing or walking, sitting or lying down, during all one's waking hours. Let one practice the way with gratitude, not freed from sense appetites. One who achieves the way will be freed from the duality of birth and death. Hello, friends. It's good to be here today. As Mary mentioned, my family and I were have been active members of Emerson, and it's really nice to be here today and see all of you. Today I want to talk about, I came up with a couple of questions to answer. What happened? What does it look like, and what's it good for? And I feel like I'll just start in. Several years ago, Gail and I were having dinner with some friends of ours, and Gail kind of outed me. She said, our daughter's going to get married in January, and Tim is going to perform the ceremony. And, I didn't usually talk about this kind of stuff to anybody. So a lot of people didn't know that I practiced Buddhism, but it came out then, and our friend said, well, so I got to know, how does a nice boy from Texas end up in this kind of condition? And I said, well, that's the question I feel like I owe this group an answer to that question, which is kind of like the one I gave her. When I was about 42 years old, in the middle 90s, I found myself in the midst of a loving young family and a pretty good job that I enjoyed doing, and I realized I was depressed. and I couldn't explain it. It wasn't really bad. It wasn't ever life-threatening, but it was painful. And we got some help for that. We got some professional help for that, and I learned a lot. I realized that I couldn't turn it off. I couldn't decide not to be depressed. It wasn't quite that simple. It's kind of like some kind of internal version of this tape that plays that goes something like the beatings will continue till morale improves, and I somehow had some kind of realization once when I was washing the dishes, like, I can't make this go away. I guess it must be my life. I better get to know it. Better get to be able to understand a little bit about it. And so I thought then that meditation might be in order, but I didn't really know what to do. And I've been reading books about Zen for a long time before this, and I read classics and I read contemporary commentaries, and I enjoyed them. I enjoyed reading them. I thought they were mysterious and funny and interesting to read, but I didn't know what to do when I got finished. So I would read them and stop and read them and stop and come back to it again. And this time, however, I found one in the bookstore one night, and I opened it up, and it started. Oh yeah, those books, they never said anything about meditation, and they never said anything about Buddha. So what was up with that? I didn't understand that. But now I found this book in a bookstore that sort of started to tell me something, and it didn't say anything about Buddha either, but it did say something about something called practice. And so I was interested by that, but about in practice, according to this author that I read, who was Charlotte Joko Beck, she said practice is sitting meditation, but practice is more than sitting meditation. It's like paying attention to your life all the time. And she said once you sort of realize to do this, you kind of have to do it all the time. And I didn't know whether to believe that or not, but it sounded like something I might want to investigate. So I started meditating by myself in the morning. I got up early and meditated, and soon I found a group of other people who did that as well that I could talk to and learn from. And that group ended up evolving into Houston Zen Center, which I still attend. And I learned a lot. But the part about the practice was the paying attention part. It's about, Joko Beck said, this is about practice. Here's what practice is not. Practice is not about seeking wisdom. It's not about seeing colored lights. It's not about meeting celestial beings. It's not about any kind of supernatural anything. It's not about learning how the universe is put together. It's not any of those things. It might happen, but that's not why you practice. What practice is bringing the truth of your life to the truth of whatever you encounter. Or, more accurately, letting the truth of what you encounter come forward and become your life. So, I learned a lot from this, and I started in practicing, and as I practiced with more people, I gained some maturity. After about 20 years of this, I realized that it made more sense for me to request ordination than not. So I was ordained, but I didn't rush into it, and I never intended to from the beginning. It's just that it made the most sense for me. So that's what happened. So what does all this look like? If you and most of this, by the way, happened early in the morning before most people get up. I started getting up really early in the morning and tending to this the first thing every day, because I still had a full-time job and I had a full-time family. But what does it look like if you come to this Zen Center place and you walk in the door? You might see a bunch of people sitting in there on cushions on the floor, quiet and not moving, and facing the wall with their eyes open. And after a while, there's a bell that rings, and they all stand up and they look at each other, and somebody comes in and puts some incense there, and everybody starts to chant and bow, and there are bells ringing, and people, a friend of mine called it yells, bells, and smells. It's a ceremony every day, and actually everything there is a ceremony. Even the sitting down and standing up is a ceremony. And we learn to be formal about it. Everything is kind of like treated as a sacrament. Every activity, even work period. And the whole thing looks like some kind of strange. I'm thinking about it from the point of view of some mythical outsider who might not know what to expect at all. It looks like sort of a three-way cross between a Catholic Mass, a Quaker meeting, and a yoga class. So that's what it looks like externally, and people wear this oddball outfits. So what's it like internally? This is more like what's it look like internally, and in combination with what is it good for. It is like a wise and well-known teacher said, a wise and a well-known teacher of Zen meditation said that Zen meditation is good for nothing. And what that means in this case is not that it's not good for anything. It's actually good for nothing. So this is as they say these days, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Nothing is actually a positive in this case. So what do I mean by that? If you, any person, sits down and examines sincerely and wholeheartedly their life as it is, whatever's included, not looking for anything in particular other than what's right there at the time, without trying to get anything in return for it, and one does that on a regular basis, one will probably get to see just about everything that the mind can do. And one will also probably wake up one morning and sit down and realize that the mind hasn't got its makeup on yet. And if the mind doesn't have its makeup on yet, that kind of means that the mind is not made up. So there's an opportunity to see the mind without an agenda. What's that like? There's an ancient poem which is actually kind of long. And I'm just going to read the very first few lines of it, but it's kind of like, this poem is like a lot more of the first few lines. It just goes on and on, saying the same thing in different ways. It's written by somebody named Sun San, who lived in the 7th century in China. The supreme way is not difficult if only you do not pick and choose. Neither love nor hate, and you will clearly understand. but be off by a hair and you're as far from it as heaven from earth. So this territory of being in a place where the mind has no preferences or no opinions or no views or no agenda is not some place where you can stay, because you have to take your dog for a walk and you have to eat your lunch and you have to buy gas and you have to do all these things that require you to have some kind of plan or agenda or whatever. But what this does, and this is where the good for nothing part comes in, it's a good balance. It allows one to keep an open mind, and it sort of softens things up so that everything that we think is important might not seem like it's quite so important. And actually, the practice of sitting, think about it. You sit down on the floor on a cushion and you make a little promise to yourself not to move or speak or, to be as still and silent as you can for 30 minutes. It's not always the most comfortable thing to do. What it ends up being is a way to train yourself in patience. And training yourself in patience is like a gateway to wisdom. And patience is actually by the definition of Buddhists, I'll say it the other way. Faith, as defined by Buddhists, has more to do with patience. It's like the spiritual dimension of patience. And one can become more patient with oneself, one can become more patient with others, and still retain the ability to act in a biased way when it's necessary. So that's it. It's about balance. And as I said before, all of this is not done to see magical things. Although, as I also said, if you sit there long enough and pay enough attention, you'll see pretty much everything that the mind is capable of. So you might get to meet some celestial beings, and you might get to understand better about how the universe is put together. And you might even see some colored lights. But in the end, none of this enterprise got started for that reason. The main reason it got started in the first place, 25 or 2,600 years ago, was to help people not suffer so much. And because the part of the mind that does the clinging, the part of the mind that has the opinions, seems like the part of the mind that causes problems for us. And if we have a little bit of perspective on that, we don't tend to have as many problems. And slowly, our depression might recede from view. So I have, in conclusion, earlier I gave a quote from Eihei Dogen Zenji about turning the light around, and what I'll just see if I can find it. I want to read it again. You're invited to set aside practice based on intellectual understanding, pursuing words and following after speech, and learn the backward step that turns your light inwardly to illuminate yourself. Body and mind of themselves will fall silent and still, and your original face will be manifest. There's nothing to gain or lose. That was written by Eihei Dogen Zenji in 1227. A contemporary teacher by the name of Brad Warner, who's a kind of a joker, sort of irreverent character, but he's very sincere and he's very well qualified, took the masterwork of Dogen Zenji, which is called Treasury of the True Dharma Eye, that was written between 1225 and 1250, and updated it for updated it into sort of a somewhat punk version of modern American English. And he summarized the entire Dogen Zenji opus in one phrase: don't be a jerk. This is what all this is really about, not being a jerk. And there's a quote on the back. I love these quotes on the back of a book. It tells you what the book is, really. You can read that and write a review almost. It says here, and it's written as a quote from Eihei Dogen Zenji: even if the whole universe is nothing but a bunch of jerks doing all kinds of jerk-type things, there's still liberation in simply not being a jerk. So I try to be diligent and work at this practice, and I'm probably still a jerk sometimes. Ask my family. But it's not so bad, because I made a public promise to try to not be a jerk. And that's all I have to say this morning. I'm going to stick with it. Thank you very much. I have to consult the script here. Oh yeah, please join us in singing our closing hymn, which is number 16, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple," in the gray hymnal. Now we've arrived at the part of our service where we must extinguish the chalice flame. I invite Lori Hammonds to come and extinguish our chalice. This flame has served as a reminder that our time together this morning is sacred, a time apart. In the words of Reverend Brian Keeley, the chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of you. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place, and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. We are so grateful for your presence this morning. For those of you who have joined us on YouTube, after the postlude, we'll be ending our live streaming service. Thank you to all online attendees. We look forward to hosting you again soon. May we, in the course of our week, be more and more aware of the communities of which we are a part. May we be more and more aware of our individual part in those communities. May we be more and more aware of how those communities co-create our journeys with us. And may we be more and more aware of how we co-create their journeys with them. Amen.